What's up, guys? Welcome back to Rugged Adventures. We picked up this PSA Dagger a couple months ago. We've done a few videos on it. You know, I declared it probably the best value in handguns, perhaps the best value in guns. Not necessarily the best gun, not the cheapest gun, but for under 300 bucks easily, you can put one of these together without an optic, you know, of course, and perhaps depending on when you find this, when you find the parts on sale. Palmetto State often runs these, and they often run blim specials where they have blemishes and such. You may be able to put one of these together for under $200. But what we've done so far is basically just demonstrated. We've compared the 9mm versus a 45, which really is not necessarily, you know, dependent on this. But today we're going to run this through its paces. We're going to try to see what it can handle when it's out in the wild, and we're going to do a so-called, you know, torture test on this thing. Although we're not going to try to necessarily make it fail, but if it does, you know, that's just the way it goes. And it'll also kind of be a test of this budget optic. This is from Gowatar. It's not, you know, anything big and nice, but it is their HHC V4, which I did a full review on that, and it's a decent little optic, but we'll see how it holds up today. Like I said, this has been a great pistol so far. I think the only weaknesses that we're going to have are some of these cosmetic things here that make these daggers very fun to look at, very fun, you know, looking, but I feel like it might be sort of a hindrance when you're looking at a regular Glock or any other type of striker fire pistol or anything like that, or most pistols altogether. Usually they do not have these scallops here. They don't have these cutouts, and this is the SW1 cut with the doctor cut for the optic there, and they have these in all sorts of different cuts with you know, this part of the slide missing, there's this part of the slide missing, they'll scallop back the muzzle here, and it makes them look really cool. But I think today, when we're getting these things in sand and mud and water and whatever else that I can dream up to put this thing in and give it a try, I think that this might be somewhat of its undoing, because that is going to allow a lot of stuff to get in there and you know, interfere with the operation thing. So before we get into this, I just wanted to mention the sponsor of our video, who is no one at all. So if you guys could hit the like button and subscribe down below, it really helped me out tremendously for this channel and for this video. And with that, let's get into it. So first up, let's just see what happens if you accidentally load the wrong ammunition. You know, a 380 is just a shorter 9mm, and they look very similar if you're looking in your bag. And so you got a couple 380s right now loaded up. I don't know if it's going to show the 380 on the back of that casing there, but let's see if it'll fire it. Let's see if it'll eject it. Let's see if it'll cycle at all. And it didn't have enough to eject the cartridge, but it didn't have any problems firing the wrong size cartridge there. Now, the drop off from here to the bottom of the stand is not a short distance. We're talking probably, I don't know, 8 to 10 feet, something like that. But if you take your PSA Dagger, and it has a full 15 round magazine in there for the weight, it's not cocked, because even though these things may be drop safe, I don't trust it. But what happens if you just accidentally lob it and it goes rolling down the hill? Or you're walking along on your pathway here and you accidentally drop it into the rocks, and you know, didn't seem to do much. Let's give it another one. Okay, right there. That's probably not great for it, but we got some scratches and dings and such. Not really that big a deal. You're walking up to your woodshed here, get some wood out of the wood pile, you stop, accidentally toss it into the wood pile. Really? Not too bad. Let's see if the red dot is still working. I don't know if you guys can see it in there or not. But we got some scratches. We have a barrel full of debris. So far, the damage to this is pretty minimal, and I would expect any pistol to really be able to handle that sort of stuff time and time again, because you're going to be dropping these things if you're carrying them. They're going to be, you know, they're going to be beat up a little bit, but you know, for the most part, fared pretty well. The sight took the most of the damage here. Just, you know, scuffs and such, and scuffs on the parts that stick out. The barrel was completely filled with, or it wasn't completely, it was probably an inch worth of mud from when we threw it over the edge. I went ahead and cleaned that out because we're not there yet, but if you want to get there, just stick around, because I do see that is coming up. We have 2 rounds in the magazine. Let's see if it cycles and if it's able to work. We'll just give this a shot. Let's see. And it looks like it worked. Next up, we have a bucket of play sand here. This, you know, play sand is just, it's finer than like construction sand. And this gun is cocked and ready to rock, and dropping your gun in sand is probably not the best thing, but this happens all over the world, especially the places where we send our military to. So we can just drop that right in there. That, you know, that would be like if you just dropped it, you know, while you're walking. Let's drop it on the other side. And you can see already that we have some intrusion of sand into those ports there that look cool, but may not be the best thing for our gun to have as far as keeping, you know, just keeping things out of it. Let's see if it is going to, fire, and then we'll go a little bit deeper with this. So we've got the sand on there. Let's see if this gun is gonna work. I think our red dot has gone away. Maybe it is covered in sand in there. So that was a thing already. So it works just fine. Get sand in your mouth. 2 shots, no problem. Operating just fine. Let's put it back in the sand. But this time, let's kind of get it all nice and in there. Get this gun sandy. And this is probably just as good of a test for the magazine as it is the actual gun. And I want to make sure, I don't want to have any sand in the barrel, but we have that thing fairly well, and there's a little bit of sand in the barrel there. Let's see if it's going to work this time. And right there, you can see we've had a failure to feed, stuck back. That doesn't really surprise me terribly much that we had that. Let's see if we can just quickly clear that. And it hung up again there. We can push it closed. Let me put my ears back on. And now see if it will go. Again, failed to feed. We can push it closed, but there's obviously stuff jammed up in the mechanism. And now it looks like it reset. The trigger is quite a bit more sandy and you know, gritty, as you may expect. Oh, we did have another failure to eject. And so it looks like with sand, we've kind of, I think, met our match on this one. Let's see if that one was able to feed. Nope, it did not feed. So we're gonna clean this thing up. Obviously, having it just fall in the sand is okay, but if it gets packed and jammed in there, you know, you're gonna have problems. As soon as I ejected the mag after doing that, I had a couple bullets fall out, and then these are stuck down in there. So this may be just as much a, you know, feeding issue with PMag, which I don't expect it to feed well with it, you know, filled with sand or have sand all over, but it may be more with the mag than it had to do with the gun. So we cleaned this up, we got it working pretty good. Still a little, you know, grimy and what have you, but it works. The firing pin works, and I think our failure to feed was mostly from this magazine not feeding. And so I unceremoniously just kind of sprayed it out with an air compressor, dumped some water on it, put a little lube, and we're back in the fight. But the thing that I kind of want to see is, what if we're running along and it gets in water? Everything, the bullets, the magazine, the gun, the optic, what if it just gets completely submerged in water? And so what we have here is, if you have any type of country roads, you have these sorts of things. And if you're running along, sometimes you might trip on them. So that was, you know, cocked and loaded. It's ready to go. Let's get it out of the water. And the only thing I'm going to do is check to make sure that the barrel is not obstructed. Point it down, let the water drain out. See if our sight is still on. It is still there. Let's give it a couple. And immediately we have a stovepipe jam there. So let's clear that out, see if it cycles. Back in. Again, a failure to feed. So let's do this. Let's drop the mag out of there. 2 bullets came out. It looks like the mag is feeding okay. So let's pop it back in there, in the chamber. And again, just another failure to feed. So I don't really think that's doing so well, considering that it was pretty clean. And I just felt this kind of come up when I took that out. So this still may be jamming us up just a little bit. Let's try one more in there. And it feeds fine when I'm just doing it by my hand. Again, just a failure to feed, and I don't know, they pop up just fine when they're in the magazine like that. So we'll look at that and find out. Same mud puddle, but this time you're running along and you drop it and your clumsy butt also sort of steps on it a little bit. So it's flooded, covered in mud. Trigger is packed with mud. I did check to make sure that the barrel was clear, and so let's see if this will work. Actually, let's see, is our dot still there? Yeah, we still got the dot on the budget sight. Let's see if this thing will cycle. I think it did. I think it cycled. That's pretty impressive if it did. Yeah, buddy. And we got a stovepipe jam there, which I don't think is to be not expected. But let's get another one here. Get two hands on her. Failure to feed, and I think that that is on, well, and then the trigger didn't reset. There we go. And another stovepipe, and that's the end of the mag. So fed on one, didn't on the rest of them, I think. And so we'll get this thing cleaned off, move on to the next. Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Yeah, this is how we clean guns here in Kentucky. Maybe you got a nice fancy table, ultrasonic cleaner, something like that, but here a creek does just fine. And to be honest with you, that gives me an idea. So this device that we have here is called the Gun Grabber 2000, and what we're going to try to do is see if this will go off underwater. And this does look kind of chintzy because this is model 1.0. I have a way too large band clamp on there, but it should be able to get us into the water and be able to pull the trigger remotely in case something goes terribly wrong. I'll be honest with you, that worked a lot better than I ever would have anticipated that it did. Just going on the first shot, it's kind of hard to get the string to pull that that trigger back, that secondary trigger thing. But let's see what we got here. It fired, it pushed back. I don't know if it ended up hitting the wood back here, I'm not sure, but it almost reloaded the next round. I bet you if we just give it a little bit, maybe. Let's see, we got a little rock or something around here. Let's see about this. There you go. That next round is in there. We're not going to fire it on that, but so it was able to fire underwater. It nearly cycled the next round, which I didn't think it would even come close to. I thought it would kind of hang before that. Let's see what else it can fire with the barrel filled with stuff. Now let's say we're walking up the hill, gun in our hand, and we trip and fall. We're tired, you know? We've been filming YouTube videos all day, and we go like that. And we stab the gun into the ground, and we bring it up. There's absolutely nothing in the barrel. Let's try it again. Oh, there's some in the barrel. Now we got a barrel that is filled with dirt. We don't really think about it, or we don't know, or something. You never know what the case is. Will it stand the pressure? Can we fire through this? Let's find out. We got one in the chamber and a barrel full of dirt. Everyone told you that you should never fire like this, so don't. But we are going to give it a shot. Literally. I don't even think it cared at all. Just cleared that dirt right out of there. I'm not sure if it cycled. Now on the last one that we did with the water shot, I thought it cycled. Thought it you know, came back, was gonna load another cartridge and jammed. Not the case. Didn't have that much energy. It just was the shell casing from the other one. Yeah, that got jammed up. But let's see here if this did in fact cycle the gun. Let's see if we can without accidentally setting off. Yep, it cycled the next cartridge with the let me lock the slide back there. With the barrel full of mud, was able to cycle the cartridge. After all this today, let's take this thing off of here. Let's see if it works. Let's see if the red dot still functions, and then we'll get out of here because we're burning daylight. Kind of hard to believe that really nothing that I can see happened to that. There's no, you know, bulging in the barrel. There's no cracks. There's no nothing. And actually, after shooting it underwater, this thing's running smoother than ever. So I'm sort of guessing that being underwater and then violently moving has knocked loose anything else that's been jammed up in it. But we have our, you know, the mag we've been using all day, the one that we've been beating up on. We have the gun that we've been beating up on all day. And to my surprise, actually, if I can get that to show, if I can get it, if I can see it, let's see, where's the dot? Our red dot is still there somewhere. There it is. So after all the beating on, you know, the fragile electronics of that thing, the red dot is still in operation. And I'll be honest with you, I'm pretty impressed that it has been able to just take an absolute beating all day underwater, you know, violent movement, and it's still with us, especially being a budget optic. But, you know, let's see at the end of the day, does the gun still function? Will it, you know, will it fire? So let's give it a shot. All good, seems. I'm not sure if our dot's on there, if I'm just missing, but we did have a failure to feed there. So, you know, I think once we get this thing all cleaned up, once we get it lubed back up, get all the sand out of the mechanisms and such, I think it's going to be okay. This was in horrific conditions that I don't think that many guns would be able to function in, and it did okay. It didn't run all day, but when we got it cleaned up and, you know, you got all the crap out of the internals, it, you know, seems to function pretty well. If you guys like this type of content, remember, subscribe and like, because this content is provided just for viewers like you, paid for by YouTube from viewers like you, because we have absolutely no sponsors on this channel. So be sure to do that, guys. I appreciate you coming out here and screwing around with me today, and I will see you on the next one.